All right, thank you guys. Happy Saturday to you. It's about lunchtime here on the East Coast, and we're coming fresh off an undefeated Friday on Patreon, going 2-0 with a push in my last three premium sports picks on that website. We're also 6-1 straight up in our last seven Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. Good for 86% during that short span. And of course, that's a website that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We're also 9-2 straight up in our last 11 plays in that same category. Good for 82% during that stretch as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But before we go ahead and move on, let's take a look at some Belarusian Vysshaya Liga soccer action. We're going to go ahead and start off with Easelocke taking on Belle Sheena in a 7 a.m. Eastern start time. Easelocke's minus 167 with a total at 2.5 juice to the under. The draw is currently plus 245. And if you like Belle Sheena in an upset, they're plus 450 for an outright win. And speaking of Belle Sheena, they're coming fresh off an embarrassing 3-0 shutout loss to Dynamo Brest in their last outing. They're also on a two-match losing streak, including a tough not 3 sets of two. I'm thinking ping pong. A tough 3-2 score defeat to FK Sluts during that span. Belle Sheena is currently in last place in the Vysshaya Liga, ranking second to last in goals allowed with 13. Belle Sheena has also scored just 5 goals in their last 7 as well. They're taking on an Easelocke team who's been victorious in 2 out of their last 3, including an impressive 2-0 shutout over Vitebsk during that span. They also beat Slavia Mozhir by the final of 2-1 during that stretch. Easelocke's just 3 points out of second place in the standings, with 3 out of their last 4 victories coming by way of shutout. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Easelocke's last 3 got over the total of 2.5 goals. Matter of fact, 4 out of their last 5 got over that number as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Belle Sheena saw their last 2 outings get over that total of 2.5 themselves. Might not be a bad spot for an overplay here. Give me Easelocke minus 167, winning this one outright for some money line cash. And the over 2.5 in that contest. And of course, like always, before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Sunday's Belarusian Vysshaya Liga soccer action. Hopefully you're having a good weekend thus far. Now, before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/Brock Page, where once again we are 6-1 straight up in our last 7 Dog of the Day tier package plays. Good for 86% in that span. We're also 9-2 straight up in our last 11 Underdog tier package plays in that same category. Good for 82% in that category as well. Very good package for us right now. We do daily premium sports picks on that website beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. We'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. Currently, we have well over 575 members signed up and active on that page. Now, you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks, where they can get them right here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great point, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this. If you were to bet every single game that's on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you're virtually guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds crazy, but you just got to hear me out here for a second. If you're going to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. And most important, guys, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that is on the board, side and total. And the good news is this. if you want to go ahead and take a look at my current record, if you want to check that out, you actually have access to that right now. You don't have to sign up for anything. You can access that current Patreon record. It's located right on the homepage. You can do that for free right now. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. And once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. And of course, without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we have Vitesse taking on Shakhtar Soligorsk in a 9 a.m. Eastern showdown. Shakhtar's -150, totals 2.5, juice to the under, draws +230. And if you like Vitesse in an upset, they're +425 for an outright victory. And speaking of victory, Vitesse hasn't experienced that very much in the past week or so, coming fresh off a 3-2 loss to Slavia Mozhir in their last outing. They're currently on a 2-match losing streak, including a humiliating 2-0 loss to Easelocke during that span. Vitesse is currently tied for 10th place in the 16-team division, scoring just 6 total goals on the season. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shakhtar is coming off a dominating 4-2 finish over Easelocke in their last outing themselves. They're currently on a 3-match win streak with victories over Dynamo Brest twice during that stretch. 2 out of Shakhtar's last 3 victories came by way of shutout, as they've given up just 3 total goals thus far on the season, which actually ranks first in the league in that category. Now, total-wise, Shakhtar's most recent outing did get comfortably over 2.5 total goals. Matter of fact, 3 out of their last 4 matches got over that number as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Vitesse saw their most recent outing get to 5 total goals, far exceeding the 2.5 that's required for this game. Might not be a bad spot for an overplay as well. Give me Shakhtar -150 and the over 2.5 in that contest. Next matchup, Smolovici taking on Bate Borisov in an 11 a.m. Eastern showdown. Bate's the $4 favorite with the total at 2.5, juice to the under. The draw is currently $3.75. And if you like Smolovici in an upset, they're +$10 for an outright win. And speaking of Smolovici, they're coming fresh off a 2-0 shutout loss to Energetic in their last outing. They're also on a 2-match losing streak, including another multi-goal loss to Dynamo Minsk by the final of 3-1. Even worse than all of that, Smolovici has yet to win a game thus far in the season, going 0-4 with 3 draws during that span. And that terrible record's going to put him in second to last place with just 3 points in the division. They've also scored a measly 3 goals on the year, which ranks dead last in the league in that category as well. Now, Borisov on the other side, completely different story, as they're coming off an impressive 3-1 victory over Niemen Grodno in their last contest. Furthermore, this Borisov squad has won their last 3 straight. Nice little win streak for them, with 2 of those victories coming by way of dominating shutout. Matter of fact, Borisov has not lost a game in their last 5 straight, shutting out their opponent in 4 out of those 5. And with regard to the standings, Borisov is just 3 points behind Sluts for the division lead. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Borisov's last 4 stayed under the total of 2.5. 5 out of their last 7 also stayed under that number. Meanwhile, on the other side, Smolovici also saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the 2.5 themselves. 6 out of their last 8 did the very same thing as well. Looks like a nice spot for underbettors here. Give me the chalk in this one. Definitely want to include this one in a parlay. Very expensive price point. Give me Bate Borisov winning this one outright for some very expensive moneyline cash and the under 2.5 in that contest. All right, next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Dynamo Brest versus Dynamo Minsk in a 1 p.m. Eastern showdown. Brest is the plus money favorite at plus $1.15 and the total at 2.5, juice to the under. The draw is currently plus 205, and if you like Minsk in an upset, they're plus 230 on the money line. And speaking of Minsk, they're coming off a devastating 2-1 loss to first place FK Sluts. Very spirited effort in that loss. Sadly, though, Minsk has also dropped 2 out of their last 4, including a 1-0 loss to Gorodea during that span. Their 3-4 record puts them in 13th place, with just 9 total points on the season. But before you go ahead and start writing off Dynamo Minsk in this matchup here, just keep in mind they're taking on a Dynamo Brest team who's dropped 2 out of their last 3 themselves, including a loss to Shakhtar Sologorsk, where they gave up 4 total goals. Their 1-3 record in their last 4 is good for just 25%, as they were shut out in 2 out of those 3 losses. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Brest's last 4 matches stayed under the total of 2.5. Meanwhile, on the other side, 3 out of Minsk's last 5 stayed under that number themselves. It might not be a bad spot for an underplay here. Give me the draw at plus 205 and the under 2.5 in that contest. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Saturday or Sunday to you, depending on when you're watching this. Best of luck to you, and I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.